Welcome to The Longest Turn. This is episode 71, Fall Fun. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
In this episode, we're going to get caught up on some of the games that we've been playing lately. The last few episodes, we did our top 50 games of all time, and we skipped over some of the games that we've been playing lately just to get into the meat of that top 50 list.
We talked about a lot of games, but we didn't talk about anything we'd been playing recently.
Yeah, those episodes were long enough, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the fall, and this is my favorite time of the year.
Love it.
Leaves are changing.
Yep.
You got baseball playoffs, hockey season started, football's well into it.
It gets a little cooler. It's been really warm, though.
I was going to say, it hasn't really gotten cooler here for us.
It's like in the 80s today.
I remember last year it went to freezing at the end of October really fast, and so I hope we get a little bit longer of a fall this year.
Yeah.
But it has been a little warm.
It's weird. So my sprinklers are getting blown out tomorrow, which normally, middle of October, that's a good time to do it. But I don't know when it's going to get cold.
About that
I'm not confident. I'm going to have to do some hand watering for a while, or else everything's going to die.
Yeah. Ours are turned off because our front lawn is decorated in Halloween junk.
And it's a sight.
Yeah.
You got some good stuff out there.
I wouldn't be surprised if we cause an accident this year. Just people walking
loose,
by.
rubbernecking it.
Yeah. It's excessive.
Very excessive. But it's fun. It's all good. It's all good.
A few weeks ago, I had an experience that I wanted to share with you guys. I forgot about this. I was at Cabela's, and we were going to shoot some clay, so I was buying a bunch of birdshot, right? And I go to check out in Cabela's, and I have my longest turn shirt on, and the cashier's like, "Whoa, dude, I think my roommate listens to you guys."
Whatever.
I'm serious.
Oh, really?
Serious. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, he loves you guys." And I forgot to mention this, when it happened, and in subsequent times that we've recorded since then. But it was just really cool to have that experience, right?
Wow, I think
his name
cool.
was Paul. I don't remember exactly. Right. It was a little bit ago, but it was just fun to have that experience, like locally. At a Cabela's of the most random places ever.
It's one thing if you go to a board gaming convention where all the nerds are collecting in one place.
Right.
But at Cabela's, that's pretty awesome.
Are you sure that the logo doesn't look similar to something else?
No, he was very specific. He's like, "Yeah, my roommate's got shelves and shelves full of board games." And so it was definitely us.
That's awesome.
But,
very cool.
Yeah, he was excited. It was a cool experience.
That's awesome.
And then I went and shot some clays, and it was awesome. So,
sounds like a solid day.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Very cool.
Who's going first? Should we jump into what we've been playing lately?
Let's do it.
Who's got the most games to talk about?
I don't know. It might be Tyson.
It's possible.
Why don't you go for it?
Oh, now I'm all off my game because I never.
Have you ever
go first?
You've never started first, I don't think.
I don't know that I ever have, really.
Is this too much? I mean, should I go?
The pressure is real here. No, I'll go first. Yeah, no. So I have had a game on my shelf of shame. In fact, a couple of the games I'm going to talk about today have been on my shelf of shame for a while. And both of the games that have been on for a while are ones that are on my lists that we put together at the start of the year of our shelf of shame games.
Okay.
So I got a couple of those off of my list now.
I'm a half for 5, I think.
I don't even remember what mine were.
I think I
gotta go check.
3 out of 5, maybe 4 now. But I gotta, because like you, Kevin, there's at least one that I can't remember what it was on that list. So I know one of them, Septima, and nope, that's still in shrink. The way that one may come off the shelf is I give it away or sell it. So I don't know.
Let's play my copy.
Yeah, I'd love to, but yeah, I haven't. This game that I'm talking about is a game called Lunar Rush. And Lunar Rush is a game that is designed by Stephen Skippy Brown, who is a friend of the podcast. He's come and played at my house, and I've test played this game when he was developing it, and
his brother's super famous.
His brother is Hungry Gamer. Yeah, I was gonna try and keep the attention on Lunar Rush and Steve, but no, he is the Hungry Gamer.
A shout out.
Yeah. Will needs nothing of the sort.
Right.
No, but yeah, both Steve and Will are friends of the podcast, and I'm a big fan of what they both are putting out. But Steve has created this game, Lunar Rush, that when he was developing it and I was playtesting it, I got a good idea of how the game worked, but I hadn't seen it in its final product. And so I finally got to play it with the final product. This is published by Dead Alive Games, and Dead Alive Games, I think they did a really good job at this. They had multiple levels of the product, from like a deluxe version to like a retail version, and the retail version alone is really well done with all the resources and little bits that are in it. But essentially what this game is it is a game in which in the near-ish future there is a new gold rush of sorts that is occurring, and it's occurring on the moon. There are new minerals and ores being discovered on the moon, certain crystals and things like that have developed this kind of surge of interest from corporations to develop and collect this, to send it back to Earth, to utilize it, to create new things with it. And so essentially what the game is it happens in kind of two different stages. Part of it is occurring on Earth, while the other part is occurring on the moon. You are a player that has an individual player board on it that represents your lunar kind of site, where you're, as a corporation, are building out all of these different things, habitats for your miners and astronauts, and you're trying to build out resources and different types of buildings so that you can establish a well-developed corporation on the moon to harvest all of these resources. But the interesting thing, and I think the real clincher in this game, is that it is all about timing in this game. So essentially what you're doing is at the start of every round, you have a number of ships that have numbers on them, 1 through 5. And you're trying to bid for routes to send your shuttles up. So it's basically you're trying to get these launch windows to be able to send your supplies to the moon to be able to build these different structures in your habitat. And as you're doing that, everybody else is bidding for that. The bid option there is to utilize points. So you start with like 25 points in the game, and you can lose points by bidding things. And the longer you go through the game, actually, they are going to increase. So, like if at the start of the game, if you bid 5 points, it's only 5. But if you bid later on in the game, it might be 5 times 3. So you're actually losing 15 points. So it makes this really interesting bidding mechanism that you're trying to balance and make sure that you're not spending too much of your points so that you can get the optimal paths, because there is a path to the moon that is the short path, a medium path, and a long path, which means that it takes multiple turns. And on the moon, there's not a lot of natural resources from the Earth, like that and you don't have any astronauts, so you're trying to send things up. But on the short path, it means that it requires less weight on the shuttle, so you can't send as much up to the moon, but it gets there within a turn. The medium path, you can add a little bit more, but it's going to take 2 turns for those resources to arrive, while the long path is going to take 3 turns, but you can load that thing up with a ton of different resources so that by the time it arrives, you can do so much more on your turn to be able to maximize and combo your actions. So as you're bidding for these routes to send your supplies up to the moon, you're going to choose, and the player who chooses first is going to, or gets the best bid, is going to be able to choose the route they want first, and then everybody gets to go and put their shuttle where they want or where is left over. Then once it goes to that point, you're going to go to the lunar phase, essentially, where you're going to be working on utilizing resources that you have this turn and build up and do action. So it's kind of a worker placement type of mechanic. However, the worker placement is not like shared worker placement. Everybody has their own unique board that has individual actions. So it's more along the lines, I think, of action selection, but you're selecting all of these different things to be able to unlock actions, such as you're going to build a larger habitat, mine certain resources, etc. So you're doing all of this simultaneously, so it actually happens really quick between players because everybody can do this all at the same time. But the interesting thing is that, which is, I know, one of Kevin's favorite things in games, is that you have to ensure at the end of the round, it's a feed worker mechanic kind of a thing, except it's not feeding the workers. It's you have to make sure that they have a habitat and oxygen at this time because they're on the moon. So if you run out, you kill an astronaut, and you're going to have a lot of like point deficit as a result of killing an astronaut. However, the interesting thing I think about that is that you can also have a route down from the moon that you've already bid for, and you're going to have a shuttle that's coming down from the moon, and it's going to have a short, medium, or long path. And so you can choose to send astronauts back from the moon so that you don't have to pay for them at the end of the round. You don't have to pay for their oxygen or to keep them in their habitats because you've sent them back down. But they take up a space in your shuttle. So if you have a short path down, it's going to take up a lot of space to put somebody back to Earth. It's an interesting kind of mechanism, and it's kind of got this circuitous kind of feel where you're sending stuff up and you're trying to send stuff down, and then it's got this like economic market board where all resources are going to be higher value depending on the supply and demand of the game. And what's really interesting, I think, is that there are 3 double-sided market boards that have different like values for what type of resources are more interesting. So there's a lot of like replayability in what you're going to see and how the game's going to change from game to game. And all of the different like modules that you're building on your own player board and you're extending the actions you can do are also variable. So you're trying to interchange and improve your own little area, and every game can have different things. I've had a lot of fun with this. I played it solo for the first time and thought that the solo design, it reminded me a little bit of like Distilled's like streamlined, direct, easy to manage solo play, where it's like you're just focusing on your turn, and then the solo game is also happening and you don't have to do a whole lot of upkeep, which was really refreshing, and I really enjoyed that experience.
Nice.
Is this game coming to Cabin Con?
I don't know. I would love to play this. I actually was hoping to
Is Tyson coming to Cabin Con?
I am coming to Cabin Con. That's the plan.
Nice.
So
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm definitely planning. I'm not sure if this game is going to come with, because we have a limited selection of games. I really want to play this. I want to bring this one because I think it's simple enough that we could play it at like a big game night where it doesn't require, like, not everybody we invite to big game night is as interested in games as we are. So
it's easier to teach, easier to get to the table.
It's really quick and easy to understand the game and get it going. And I think that this would be really good, especially like the playtime and everything.
But not quite Cabin Con worthy.
I don't know. I could bring this to Cabin Con, and I think we would have a lot of fun with it. But it is the question of what am I bringing to Cabin Con?
There's a lot of.
We have a limited space, and I think we're gonna limit it to only 5 games per person bringing to Cabin Con.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, do what you want.
Or 5 big games, maybe a lot of little smaller games.
We need to have a planning meeting and some Mark's brisket.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's a necessity.
Right.
Let's get that going right now.
Yeah.
Can never have too much brisket.
Nice. It sounds cool. I'm interested in trying it out.
Yeah, I think you both would really enjoy this one.
Awesome.
But that is Lunar Rush.
Cool.
All right, I'll go next.
Sweet.
Okay. CMYK, they've put out some fantastic games. They sent us their most recent game, which is called Wilmot's Warehouse. This is based on a video game. I don't know if you guys knew that.
No, I know nothing about this game.
I knew nothing about Wilmot's Warehouse before this game. I didn't know about the digital game or anything. This game is awesome. It was super fun. Memory games aren't my favorite genre of game. This is my favorite memory game. if I don't know what that means, because I don't play a lot of memory games, but it's a really fun game. The way this works is it's a cooperative game. You have a board that is basically just a grid. And you as a team are putting items out in this warehouse. Now, the items are these square tiles, and the tiles are a picture of something. And these pictures can be interpreted to be any number of things, right? I'm looking at one now. It could be like an egg that's cut in half, or I don't know, a half moon, or something like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a tile. Now, these tiles are in stacks of 7 for days of the week, Monday through Friday. You're working in the warehouse. You take the top tile, everybody looks at it, and then you decide where it's going to go in your warehouse. The first one has to go smack dab in the middle. So you kind of remember what that looks like. You put it face down. Okay. Then the next player is going to be the supervisor. They take the next tile, look at it, and everybody discusses what it looks like. And then they place it next to the tile that's already on the board. Now, in order to remember what these tiles are, you are encouraged to tell a story about these tiles. Okay. So when we played, there was one that was a lighthouse. The lighthouse was in the middle. Okay. My daughter was playing. We flipped over another tile and she said, well, that looks like butt cheeks. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So somebody was by the lighthouse and they burned their butt cheeks. And so we put that one next to it. That was our way of remembering what those tiles were and where they were at in the warehouse. And as you're placing more tiles, your story is getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting crazier and crazier, right? And then your story will come to an end and you're like, okay, we're going to branch off from the lighthouse and we're going to go this way. Oh, this is a boat. Oh, okay, they're a boat and they got lost at sea. Oh, these are clouds. It was a cloudy day, and you're telling a story the other way. Okay. So you get through Monday and you get to Tuesday. Now, every other day of the week, you're going to have a card that's on top of the stack. You will flip it over and it'll be something that you have to do for that day. One of the cards that we played with was only 2 people can look at what that tile is. The other person doesn't know what it is at all. And then you'll decide where it goes. You can describe what it looks like, but one person doesn't get to see it. So there's one card on each day after Monday that makes the game harder. One of them was we had to switch seats. And for me, visually, I can see, oh, I know where this is. I know where this is. But when I'm in a different seat, I'm like, oh my gosh, where the heck are these things? So it just makes the game a little bit harder. So you get all the way to Friday. You get 35 tiles out onto the board. Then what you do is there is a stack of cards. Now, all these tiles are face down. You split the cards out between everybody on the table, and these cards are going to match what those tiles are. And you have to, as fast as possible, find the cards, put them on top of what you think that tile is, and try to match those up with everything that's in your warehouse. Okay? And you're doing that as fast as you can. You have a time limit of 5 minutes, and the quicker you do it, the better you do cooperatively. Then you flip over each tile, and if it matches the card, you're good. If it doesn't match the card, you add 10 seconds to your time. And then once you flip everything over, that's the whole game. This game, we've had such a good time with it. Our time was 6 minutes and 10 seconds, which is horrible. If you look at the back, it'll say, if you do it under a minute, that's the best. If you do it over 5 minutes, you are prohibited from sleeping while at work. That's the tip that you get, right? The fun part of this game is just the stories that come out of playing. And every time you play, you only play with 35 tiles, and there's just a ton of different tiles in the bag. Every time you play, it's going to be different. Every time you play, it's going to be a different story. I played it with my 11-year-old and her best friend, and we just had a great time with it. So super fun game. Really
awesome.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you don't necessarily like those kinds of elements in other games. I'm thinking like Astra, right? Like get up and move around the table, or like
sure.
We're Doomed, or like the
memory
games.
Memory games or games where you're doing something physical or whatever.
It almost
right?
sounds like a party game, but it's
a
not.
little bit. Yeah.
It's more just cooperative memory.
It's cooperative memory
with storytelling elements.
Storytelling element with random things that you're doing in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why is it in this game that you like these things, or is there something you can pin down and say, this is why I like this one?
Super fun coming up with a story.
It's the narrative.
I tell stories to my kids all the time, right? And just like wacky things. And they remember these stories and they're like, hey, Dad, you remember when you said you climbed to the top of Mount Everest and this guy named Goopka made you a grilled cheese sandwich and then you went skiing down the mountain and did backflips off this? And they're like, oh, yeah, I remember that story. So I'm telling my kids stories all the time. And this game facilitates like funny, crazy stories like that. And it's stuff that you're going to remember, right?
Yeah.
And you're creating a fun, memorable experience with those that you're playing with. Now, I don't know if I would bring this out at game night with you guys. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's more of a family game experience, you know?
It sounds a little bit like, and I've never played it, but like Tales of Arabian Nights.
I love that
style of game,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. They're coming out with tangent. They're coming out with the new game, Tales of the Arthurian Nights or whatever. Tales of the Arabian Nights is hilarious, right? Because you're playing the game for the experience. You're not, strategically trying to win, right? And you get cool stories that come of that.
I think it'd be a fun way to kick off a game night. It's what, 25, 30, 35 minutes?
Yeah, it's not a long game at all.
And then you can play up to 6. And
absolutely. Yeah, you can play a lot. So, let's do it.
I'd be up for it. I'd be interested in trying it out for sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
A bunch of grown-aged men telling stories and
about butt cheeks and
burning butt cheeks on a lighthouse. Well, yeah, that's the stories you get when you play with 11-year-olds. Yeah, which is awesome. Love it. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned who this. It was CMYK, but the designer of this one is Ricky Haggett, Richard Hogg, and David King. So, with art done by Richard Hogg. The art is very basic, but it's very good for this type of game. So
nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's Wilmot's Warehouse. I think definitely worth checking out.
Cool. I've got a cooperative game I'm going to talk about. I have been playing this game the most in the last 2 months out of all the games that I have. I've got close to 20 plays. This is Dodo, and this was a review copy that Cosmos sent. It came out in 2020, and the designers are Frank Biebenroth and Marco Tubner. It's a kid's game, okay? I play this with my almost 4-year-old. He lights up when we play this. So the concept is you have this 3-sided tower that you build out of cardboard, and you put this plastic piece on top that holds a dodo nest and an egg, and you're trying to help the islanders save this dodo egg, right? Because they're going to go extinct. We know how that worked out. But basically, once you start play, you kind of move the dodo that's on the top, and the egg will start wobbling out of the nest, and it'll wobble onto a bridge that's on the side of the tower, okay? And you start out with 1 in place, and there are 6 more that you have to place that slowly wind their way down around the tower to the bottom, where if you successfully complete the game, you get to put a boat at the bottom with a cardboard pillow, and it catches the egg and you win. So it's a race against time. The egg slowly wobbles its way down. If you don't get the next bridge in place in time, then it falls and breaks and you lose. So how you play is really simple. There is a die that you roll, and it has things like gold, rope, hammer, nails, all the things you would need to fund and build this bridge, each section of it. And so you roll this die, and there's a bunch of face down tokens. And when you roll the die, let's say it's bamboo, you have to try and flip over a bamboo token. If you flip over a bamboo token, it goes towards building the bridge. The first one only requires 1 token, and then you can add it to the side of the tower. They start to require more and more the more bridges you add to the tower. But if you roll the bamboo and you flip over a gold token, it's not a match. You have to remember, you try to remember where that gold token is for the next time you roll gold. The islanders are wild, so if you flip over an islander token, it's a success no matter what you rolled on the die. And so it's this race against time to try and save this dodo egg. I love playing the experience of playing it with my 4-year-old. It's a super easy, lightweight game. Just the way that he gets excited. And at first, when we first started playing, he struggled, and you kind of had to push him along, like, no, let's go. Like, roll the die, flip over one, and kind of take his time. But now he's got it down. Like, we have not had a hard time beating this game for 8 times in a row. And the bridges have skeleton requirements on them where if you are playing in a harder mode, you just have to have more successes before you add each bridge section. And so we've been playing that way. The next level of difficulty is to remove all the wild tokens from the pile. But just seeing his face light up and the excitement and the cheers that happen when that egg falls onto the boat is just worth it, and
It's awesome.
If he's in a cranky mood right before bedtime, I'll be like, oh, let's go play Dodo. And then he just like lights up and we have fun, and then bedtime goes much easier. Right. But just such a blast to play this with him. There is a little bit of time that it takes to put the tower together at the beginning. But really, in the time that it takes him to flip all the tokens face down, I build the whole tower and put it together, and it's ready to go. So we've got setup down like a well-oiled machine. We've got gameplay down, and it's just a blast. So
nice.
Having a great time with Dodo from Cosmos. Highly recommended. If you have younger kids, it says ages 6+. Like I said, he's almost 4, so there's some leeway there. I'm in my 40s and having a great time with it. So that is Dodo.
Some of the best times I have with games are with kids' games.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
So it was sent by Cosmos, and I've had an absolute blast. 20 or so plays of it, and it's just awesome. So we're going to remove the islanders from the pile of tokens and see if we can do it without any of those wild tokens, and see if it's still easy or makes it a little more interesting. And so you alternate taking turns rolling the die and trying to flip over one. And it's funny, there's one of the tokens, it tore a little when I punched it. And he knows that it's bamboo. And so the first time that anybody rolls bamboo, he'll point it out and like, it's bamboo, So
working the system.
Yeah. Smart. He's smart.
Nice.
He's
Love
picking
it.
up on the clues here.
Yeah, but we're having a blast with it.
It's interesting. I have been playing simpler games with my kids for a long time, right? And I love that board game companies are coming out more and more with games that are accessible to young kids but engaging for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We just played one called Guju. Right? We picked it up at the game shop, and dumb little game.
Yeah.
So much fun though. It's great. So I love the games that you just have a good time around the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not spending hours reading the rules. It's just you got a half page and everybody's up to speed, and it's those types of games are really fun too.
So the next game I want to talk about is a game I played with my 7-year-old. And it's a game that moved up for me in these simpler games that anybody can play and my kids understand, and it's a good time. I've been playing a lot of those. I enjoy those a lot, but I had set this game up for myself, and my 7-year-old was like, "Hey Dad, can I play with you?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, he's asking. Let's see if this is a game that he can do." And I wasn't sure about it. It is a tactical skirmish style game.
Oh.
And so I was a little bit hesitant to because I didn't know if he was going to be able to grasp everything. But it's an 18 card tactical skirmish game. So I thought maybe he can handle this, right? It's a button shy game. I haven't talked about button shy in a long time. Oh. So I figured it was due.
It's time.
I needed to come back. Yeah.
Kevin's next Dominion expansion.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, that's coming. Maybe next episode.
Yeah.
But Button Shy, I love Button Shy for those who do not know, and I've played a lot of their games. I usually play mostly their solo games, but this also has a solo component to it. The game I'm talking about is Battlecrest. Battlecrest is a game designed by Dustin Dobson and Milan Zivkovic, and it is a game in which, like I said, it's a 2-player, 4-player if you buy enough content, tactical skirmish game. So think of games like Unmatched or like some of these 2-player card games that you're playing. But this is trying to take the card component and make a board state that you're traveling around and doing things. So what it does is it takes 6 of the 18 cards and uses them as location areas. And this location map is set up in a grid that is a 5x5, or sorry, a 6x6 grid. And these cards are strategically set up in a way that locations can be accessed within it. And some of that grid, like the 6x6 grid, is kind of imaginary. So you have to look at it based off of where the 6 cards you're placing are on the board. But each player then will place a hero card and or a minion card. So in this, you can buy multiple different types of heroes packs and things like that. In the base game, it comes with 2 heroes. And some heroes come with minions. Some heroes do not have minions. They have different types of things, and you can kind of buy characters that work in different ways. And there's a lot of variety in this game if you wanted to get into it. And so you can have a bunch of different things. But essentially what you're doing is those 6 cards are played on the table, and then the remaining cards go to each player as character cards. One of those cards for each player is going to track your health, which I think is done in a very clever way. The card is in a position based off of where your starting cards are. It's going to move along and has a health tracker on the bottom. And based off of where the position of the card is in conjunction with the action cards that you can use, it's going to tell you how much health you have. And so it's done a really phenomenal job of taking a bunch of like design concepts and putting them in a small space. But as you're playing, each player has these different actions they can do. So on your turn, you can do 2 different actions. And those include things like moving, activating card action abilities, priming a card, which is when you use an ability, you exhaust it. So like tap it, like it moves 90 degrees and it's on its side. And then you can also refocus, which allows you to flip the cards to the opposite side. So every card in this game basically is double-sided card to maximize its play space and create a bunch of different variety. And it's interesting because even when cards are tapped, like tapping cards will unlock specific abilities or show symbols on the card that weren't available until you've exhausted it. So when you're trying to do actions, you're trying to line up your cards in certain ways so that they unveil certain symbols so that you can unlock and do more powerful attacks or movements or different things. And each of the locations also have like adjacency rules. So on the locations, they have things that will boost your power or allow you to take shortcuts, like move through cards and move in different ways to get to different angles. And there are characters that are ranged characters that are melee characters, and there's a lot of different strategy that goes in this game. I ended up playing this, like I said, with my 7-year-old, and we were just kind of exploring it. And it was amazing to see how quickly he kind of caught on to some of these concepts. He had a character that was a melee character, and I had a ranged character. And he knew he had to get in close to me, and I was kind of skirting around, dodging him. But he started to see that he's got to stop me. And so he would run and take the shortcuts between cards to get to me and then attack me. And I had a minion that would like freeze him, basically stop his movement, and so he couldn't move. And he was getting really frustrated by me of that, and so he was like trying to kill that minion and get rid of it from the game so that I couldn't do things as easily. It was a really fun experience to play with him, and I thought that the system was really clever. It was interesting to see how from just flipping cards over or turning them 90 degrees, it unlocked all these different potential possibilities. I have played a number of skirmish games, and I was impressed to see that this game did as much as other skirmish games do with boards without that, and with only 18 cards. It's really impressive to me.
Nice. That sounds fun.
It looks cool. I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
I would like to play this.
But I would love to play this, and I have enough content that we could play a 4-player game with this one if we wanted. So I'd be interested. And that's like a dual kind of a 2-on-2 experience. But I like this game, and I would love to play it more.
Nice.
I have the expansion collection 1. So I have the base game plus the first expansion, but then they have other expansion collections where you could buy individual characters if you wanted, or you can buy them in the expansion collections, and they release them periodically. It's kind of cool.
Very cool.
That was cool.
Very cool.
But yeah, that's Battlecrest.
All right, the next game I'm going to talk about, we mentioned it's fall, the fall season. We're almost to winter. This is the perfect winter game. Okay, it's called Jokkmokk, the Winter Market.
Oh,
all right.
So tell us what Jokkmokk is.
Jokkmokk is, well, so this game is based on a Swedish winter festival that's been going on for over 400 years in the city of Jokkmokk in Sweden. All right. This game obviously is caught my eye. If you've listened to the podcast, you know that anything Sweden related, I'm drawn to. Right. I spent some time in Sweden, so that's what initially caught my eye about this game. So I picked it up. It is from WizKids. It's designed by Henrik Larsson and Christina Hegerfors. And
I don't think he pronounced those
No,
correctly.
he needs to retry.
No. Totally did not. I meant my Swedish is rusty, but I think I can pronounce things right. So this is it's a really simple game. It's not a heavy game at all. How it works is you have a central board, okay, and you have a bunch of cards, and you select these cards from different decks, okay. So you're going to have a number of decks. You're going to shuffle those cards. There's a deck for the first half of the game, and then there's a deck for the second half of the game. You will align these cards around the board, and then everybody will take their little meeple. You have 2 of them, and you will put them at the beginning of the board. All right. The main mechanic is whoever is furthest back on that row gets to move their meeple to a card and select that card. Okay, and then do the action of that card, if there is an action. There's various things that these cards can do. There are hot dogs. A lot of the game is set collection, right? You're trying to collect sets of cards to get points and victory points at the end of the game. There are hot dogs, which is hilarious. The way that these score is that if you have the most hot dogs, you get half of your hot dog points. You don't want to eat too many hot dogs and get sick, right?
No Joey Chestnut in Jokkmokk.
No Joey Chestnut in Jokkmokk. You're not getting extra points for eating the most hot dogs. You don't want to get sick. If you have not the most, then you're going to get the full points for your hot dogs. There's surströmming. Surströmming is fermented herring. Its stuff is absolutely nasty. This is one of my regrets. I never actually tasted it because I was almost throwing up just by smelling it. It is
nasty smelling.
Terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And in this game, it's a bad thing. You select one of these surströmming cards and you give it to somebody else, and it's negative points at the end of the game, right? There's cards that you can collect that you're building a quilt, which is kind of cool. Each card has 2 different colors on it in a triangle, and you're trying to orient these cards to match up colors, and for each color that you match up, you get points at the end of the game. There's lanterns that you can collect. If you're arranging the lanterns in a pyramid, and as you place numbers on the lanterns that match, you're going to get those points at the end of the game. There's just cards that you get for points. There's these Dalecarlian horses that just give you points at the end of the game. There's the Northern Lights that will give you points. So you're trying to collect sets of cards that will give you points. It's very, very basic. What's I think the most interesting part of the game is that if you're furthest back, you get to go next. So there's times when both of your meeples will be next to each other. You can take a double turn. Do I want to jump farther ahead because there is a card that I really want that works with my strategy, but I'm not going to get a turn for a while? It's those types of decisions that make the game interesting. Plus, there's a bunch of different decks of cards that you can mix and match. So the games that you play are going to be different. I think there's some variability in the game, replayability because of the different decks of cards. I did read a comment. Somebody asked the designer, "Are you going to come out with more of these decks?" And he said, "Well, if the game sells well enough, we have plans that we can do that. So hopefully it does." And they put out more expansions. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I'm a little, I may connect more with the theme because I spent some time in Sweden, but I played with, Ben and Glenn, and they haven't, been to Sweden, and they had a good time.
I was going to say, I talked to Glenn the other day, and he was asking about games going to Cabin Con, and I think he was excited and hopeful that this one would make the cut.
Nice.
Because I think he said he won both games.
He did.
Yeah.
He did very well.
He didn't have enough hot dogs or too many.
Yeah, he did. He planned well. He did.
Yeah.
He built his quilt and all that good stuff. We'll figure it out. If he puts in a request for Jokkmokk, I will put it in the bag.
Cool. I want to play it. It looks fun.
Yeah.
I love the art style.
It's gorgeous.
It just
Yeah.
looks, I don't know, just
Playful, fun,
looks
inviting.
Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
It looks very Scandinavian.
Yeah.
And I am sad that I was on the other table when this was being played.
And this is a pretty quick play, right?
Yeah, it's a quick play, so it's something you can break out and play, 20 minutes or so. So I'm sure we'll get it played between other games, or to start off a game night. It's a good one, or to end a game night. So that is Jokkmokk, the Winter Market.
Nice. I'm going to talk about an expansion. The base game was on our top 50 lists. Kevin, I think, had it at 13, and I had it at 25, and Tyson had a different iteration of it. Clank Catacombs.
Love Clank.
The build as you go, lay out tiles, get in the dungeon, get artifacts, get points.
Best version of Clank,
Collect gold.
think.
I agree, but I haven't played the Legacy yet.
Yes, which could
Still
be
on my
better.
shelf of shame.
Yep.
Maybe on my shelf of shame for this year. I can't remember.
When we played, when we did the top 50 episode and talked about Clank, I had not yet played Clank Catacombs. I have since played Clank
We played it after we
Catacombs.
recorded that last episode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
And it was
talked about
awesome.
it, and we
And you
played
did
it.
very well in that
And I
game.
loved it.
Yeah.
And it was really good. I think it is the best version. I like it better than Legacy, even maybe, only because in terms of accessibility, you can bring Clank Catacombs out anytime.
It's one and done.
Legacy is you have to have a committed group for, right? So but both are great.
Yeah, it's designed by the amazing Paul Denon. He's got some other amazing games under his belt.
This may
Always have to throw that in
deck
there, don't you?
building
it may be
master.
maybe his best though, Clank.
Yeah, definitely.
The Clank system. I think it is probably his best.
Yeah.
I might disagree with that, but this is the Lairs, Lairs, and Lost Chambers expansion. It's the first expansion for Clank Catacombs, and it just barely came out in the last couple months. I would never not play with this, even if I was playing Clank with a brand new Clank player. It adds 12 new tiles. There's 2 of the purple safety tiles, 10 other tiles. It adds monsters that show up in specific rooms when you flip over those tiles, and then you can fight them, and they each do slightly different things. So that the monsters are there's the lair of living statues that you can fight. There's a Medusa and a Sphinx, and they all have different rewards and different things that they do. Like after you defeat one of the living statues, you get to teleport to another lair or lost chamber, which is pretty cool and can be helpful. The lost chambers, there's a bunch. There's like 5 or 6 different tiles that you flip over, and they're lost chambers, and they each have different effects that you can do in that room, or different rewards that you can get. Very cool. I played this with Logan, and we only saw a couple of them, but it just added that much more to the game and the experience, and just mixed it up a little bit. There are pit traps. So sometimes you go into a room, they're kind of like the ice chambers or whatever that make you
have
stop.
to stop, yeah.
Caverns, the crystal caverns or whatever.
So the pit trap, the pit traps are cool because you have a choice. If you move into a pit trap, you can either trash a non-stumble card, so you can
Thin in your deck.
Yep. Can't be a stumble card. We may have played that wrong the first time. Or you can fall into the trap, take 1 damage, and your turn or your movement ends for that turn. I like that.
That's awesome.
It implements a trash mechanic, which is
yes,
it's
love that.
hard to get trashing
It is
in
very-
Clank, but
yes.
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
really cool. There's there's some one-way linked tunnels that like going out of a room you might not have to fight monsters, but going into the room on that same path you might have to defeat or spend some swords to defeat some monsters.
Does it make a double arrow path that you can't get through it?
No.
That was hilarious.
But they kind of go around each other, but you can tell they're both going to the same spot. But, you know, that came up a little bit. Some of the tiles have a specific color on some of the tunnels so that when you flip over the tile, you have to use that side or those entry points based on which way you're going. So, like... And the one in the rule book points directly to a pit trap. So you're forced to go into it unless you choose one of the other colored in ones. There's cool. Trophies that give different rewards that you hang on to, like when you defeat certain monsters or just defeat certain enemy cards.
So you're going to have a lot of stuff here.
A lot of stuff, but... yeah, tons of stuff, but not a lot of overhead. And like when you flip over a new tile that has a different lost chamber, you look at the rule book for 30 seconds and it's like, okay, cool. Now I know what that room does.
That's what I was going to say. What's cool about Clank Catacombs is you can kind of teach as you go, right? Because you flip over a new tile and it's like, oh, here's a ghost. Here's what the ghost does.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very accessible. Even if there is more in the expansion, you can probably throw it in, no problem. That's cool.
So yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's super easy to add this into a brand new experience for a new player. 50 new dungeon cards, the trophies that I was mentioning, you collect those, and sometimes they have abilities, sometimes they're just worth points at the end of the game. Some of them aren't, they're not all positive ongoing effects, but I don't know, You hang on to those until the end of the game. I played this with Logan. He got in and got the artifact that he wanted. I made it to safety, but died before I could exit.
The threshold.
Yeah, and he beat me just barely. Like, even if I had gotten the 20-point token, bonus. Whatever the bonus for exiting the dungeon successfully, I think he would have beat me by a couple points. But in a 2-player game, you're drawing way more cubes out. We drew a ton of black cubes, so ones that don't hurt you early on in the game, and by the time he got out, it was basically mine and his cubes and ghost cubes in the bag. So, you know, he's drawn on every single one of his turns at that point once he's exited, and I was lucky to get to a safe area so that I didn't score 0. But I loved it. I love this game. It's a blast. I would happily bring this to Cabin Con, and it's a great expansion, and I look forward to any future Clank Catacombs expansions that may or may not be in the pipeline.
It made the cut for last Cabin Con, and that was a fantastic experience.
Yeah,
so
it was awesome.
It was
I think I ordered it like halfway through that game. I bought my own copy.
There are some games that are like that, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I have to have this, and that's a good one.
What really intrigues me is the pit traps. Not only the fact that it adds a trashing mechanic, but the fact that you said that you can be forced to do a pit trap. Because if you go to a pit trap and you're intending to trash something, that's great. But I'm curious, with the pit traps, does it allow you to trash like other trash mechanics in the game from your discard or your played cards in hand, or is it going to force you to play stuff only straight from your hand? Because I could see that.
I kind of like that better.
Yeah.
Right? I like that better.
It must come straight from your hand.
Yep.
I'm glad you asked that.
That is the right answer, because that's awesome.
And the rule book encourages you, hey, if these are available, make sure that you're doing your movement. You're encouraged to do your movement first.
Before you do
Because you don't want to have to trash something
that you were saving.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like do your movement first, and then you can ideally trash what you want to trash out of your hand.
Very cool.
Yeah, no, that's what I was hoping it would be, because I can imagine that would create multiple moments of the game where you want to go to a certain spot, right? And you're like, oh yeah, that's really great, but then you end up not like getting exactly what you want, and it just makes you
that's
crunchy decisions.
That's one of my favorite parts of this game. It's like going to funny locations where you're in like a loop or something, or you get forced to the side of the board that's further away from escaping, and the game's almost over. And you're like, sucker, you know.
And you can almost get completely isolated, especially with the portals that you use to teleport. I remember there's been games where I've played with Logan where sections of the board are completely detached almost from everything else, except for the portals. And how the map gets built out is
it's awesome.
Awesome.
So fun.
So good.
So fun. Yeah.
Like, how do I get an artifact now? Because I was going to go for that one, and then somebody else grabbed it. Okay, I got a really junky artifact that's worth a few points. It's worth not as many points, but how do I actually get back to safety now?
And now my tile is turned 180 degrees. And now all my plans are just gone.
The way I was going to go back is now a one-way in the wrong direction. Exactly. Or I don't have any more lock picks to unlock that path to go through. Like,
which in other games that could be just super frustrating and like, I hate this. But in this game, it's just funny.
Part of the charm. Well, and there's a lot of charm in this game in that, like, you were talking, Tyler, about like just getting killed, right? Like right at the threshold. Like, that's hilarious. Or like, I didn't get out. That could be really hilarious. We had in our Discord, one of our Discord members, Shaja, ended up posting a picture of his play of Clank Catacombs, and he talked about how his green player ended up really dying, and they ended up stacking all the cubes for this green player. That's awesome. It ended up like this ridiculously high stack just because all the cubes that happened to come out apparently were the green players. And so I think it has lots of fun moments that is just fun tongue-in-cheek. It almost doesn't matter who wins. Obviously, you want to win and do your best.
And it feels good to win.
But it doesn't feel bad. Terrible losing.
It doesn't feel bad to lose.
Yeah. Great game.
That's Clank Catacombs. Lairs and Lost Chambers.
So I played a game recently that is one that I had heard about for a long time but never played. It was originally published by Tasty Minstrel Games, and they re-implemented it, and it is now published by Keymaster Games. The game I'm talking about is Harvest. For a while there, it was on the hotness and was a really big deal. It's designed by Trey Chambers, and the solo design is done by Cameron Art, and the art is by Tiara Connor. And I mentioned the art because, like, this game before, the Tasty Minstrel Games version of it, I remember seeing it and hearing positive things, but I was never, like, attracted to it. It wasn't my favorite art or representation of the game. I think I had an opportunity to get a free copy of this or another game at one point in time to, like, demo, and I chose to do the other game because it was more appealing to me visually. But this version is really beautiful. Like, to the point that I didn't realize these were the same game as at first. So Ben, I went over to his house and he pulled this game out, and Ben picked some of the most, like, he owns some of the prettiest games, and that's one of his criteria.
Yes, he loves pretty games.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
If it looks good, he gets it. Almost sight unseen at times. And this game has some really amazing components. Like, it looks good. Game,
it looks really good.
As you can tell by the name Harvest, you're harvesting different crops and vegetables and things like that. And so you're planting a garden, essentially. And this garden is in a grid board on your, like, in front of you. You have a grid, and some of it, if you've ever played the video game Harvest Moon, this, to me, is the board game implementation of Harvest Moon, where you have inherited a farm, and this farm is kind of overgrown and not great. And so at the start of the game, each tile space on your farm board is overrun with, like, forest and stuff like that. So you have to clear out your fields as part of the action of this game. You're clearing out stuff and expanding your area so that you can grow different things. And there are different ways to get fruits or vegetables and do stuff, but even, like, these vegetables pieces, and I assume it's a deluxe version, but, like, the deluxe version of these, like, wooden pieces are just gorgeous. And I love the presentation of this game. But essentially, it's a worker placement game in which you are placing wheelbarrow workers on a main board to do different actions, such as purchase seeds, you can go to the trading post and exchange different resources. You can go to the workshop to build different buildings into your land. But by building buildings, they're taking up like grids in your board, and so you have less room to be able to grow different crops and things like that. And you're going through and playing all of these workers to do different things. And it's a very clean, simple worker placement game that it feels nice and fun, but it works really well. And you're trying to grow crops, water them so that they expand, and then harvest them at the right moment to be able to do some fun things. But I think one of the most interesting parts about it is that each player is a different, unique character in this game with an asymmetric ability, and you're trying to maximize what you're good at and do things to improve your entire situation. For example, you have to have like water in this game to be able to do like harvest or like grow your crops. And one character starts with their watering pail at a higher value than anybody else, whereas another character may have the ability to never have to pay the cost to build things. So you're trying to maximize. They're simple abilities, but like really kind of direct the path you're going. And I like a lot of what this game is doing, and it's simple and it's clean. And then right after I played Ben's copy, it came out on BGA, and so I started playing this on BGA, and I've had a lot of fun with this. It's a very clean, simple worker placement, but like it is enjoyable. I like what it's doing. It's not a whole ton of like heavy thinking, but it is rewarding what you're getting out of it.
Yeah. Do you know if the gameplay changed from the original game?
It, as I understand it, it did. They added, they tweaked the rules to like improve and streamline it to some extent, and then I think they added some additional things to it to enhance it.
Okay.
And from what I understand, it's a better experience all around, like unanimously.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we have the old TMG version, and I think I've got 4 or 5 plays, but it's very, even back then it was very simple and fairly clean. I love the art a lot more with this version, but I'd be interested in trying this game. Logan loved this game, but we played it back when he was like 10 or 11.
Well, and that's the thing. I think this is the style of game that you can bring out with any audience, and it's a great like introductory worker placement that satisfies anybody who's played like tons of worker placement, as well as anybody who's never played worker placement.
So kind of the same weight as a Stone Age type of thing. Is that
that about right? But I think there's a little bit more variety in like there's asymmetry in this a little bit more. So there you can see how you're doing stuff in a way that makes it, that entices you to be like, oh, if somebody else is playing differently, I'd like to try this again with that kind of character, or maybe focusing on that type of an effort in this game. There's enough branching like strategies in here that you can get a taste for different things. Not to say that Stone Age doesn't have some of that, but like I think there's a little bit more to chew on, but it's not like a lot more.
Interesting. Yeah, I have one play on BGA, and I don't think I fully understood. I would definitely like to explore it some more. So yeah, it sounds awesome.
And like, does it still have number cards where your turn order is based off of which?
The sunset, yeah. So there's sunset actions at the start of every round. You get, and they're tiles in this, and they slot into your player board.
Oh, okay.
And they're sunset actions that give you an ability or like enhances what you're doing that round for the very start of the round, and it kind of kickstarts your strategy or whatever you're doing.
But is it like depending on who took the most powerful ones goes last, or that type of thing? It's
your turn order. So like you choose one of those tiles first, right? And they're numbered like 1 to 9 or something like that. And if you select 9, that means that you're the last one to go turn order in the round, but it has a more powerful like ability. Like it gives you a lot more resources or something. So you may want to take that one, but you're only able to choose whatever is available at the time because every player is holding on to some of those tiles. So think Terra Mystica or like Gaia Project, where like each round you're swapping out a token.
Or Res Arcana. right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Very similar to that.
Yeah, okay.
In that you have like those cards that are relics or whatever they're called, right? That are you're trying to do round bonuses that'll give you extra abilities to do stuff. But in addition to that, these are also turn order.
Yeah, I remember liking that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I want to play this on BGA. Let's get a game going.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start it up.
I'm in.
But yeah, that is Harvest.
All right, so my next game, I have played this 25 times in the past, I guess, 4.5 weeks, maybe 5 weeks.
Voidfall.
Voidfall, that is correct. Amazing game, I love it. No, not
Wait,
not
you're still
Voidfall.
playing the same the 25 games. Huh?
No, not Voidfall. This game is Castle Combo. It is designed by Pandasaurus, designed by Gregory Grard and Matthew Rossell, art done by Stephanie Escape. Apologize for those names. I'm sure I got them wrong, but this game is fantastic. I've only played it on BGA.
Yeah.
This is one. It was right after I had surgery. That week after, I'm just sitting around in pain, kind of bored. I'm like, I'm just going to learn this game. It plays in about 10 minutes on BGA. It's listed as 10 to 25 minutes, and that's pretty accurate. So the way this game works is you are building a grid of cards, a 3x3 grid. So the whole game is you'll be drafting cards and you'll be playing them into this grid. And as soon as you play your 9th card, the game is over, and then you will score. What you're trying to do is you're trying to build combos. So there are cards that you're going to draft from the lower city and the upper city. Okay. And there's this little meeple guy that's either going to be in the lower city or the upper city. If you draft a card and there's a specific symbol on the card with this meeple, you will move him to either the lower if he's on the upper, or the upper if he's on the lower. So he's going to be moving back and forth. Okay. You can move him, move the messenger by spending a key if you would like, because maybe you want a card that's in a different row than where you are at. So why are you drafting these cards? Well, you draft a card, and the card will give you a lot of times an instant bonus, and then there'll be on the bottom of the card an end game bonus that you're trying to build towards. Now, that bonus oftentimes will be if you have a certain number of shields of a certain color in that row or in that column, for example. It'll say you get 3 points for each orange shield in this row, and you're trying to put these orange shields in the row. There could be cards that say, well, if you are in the lower right corner, lower left corner, upper right, upper left, then that card's going to be worth 8 points at the end of the game. There's cards that say at the end of the game, you'll score for each different shield that you have in this row. So you're trying to build combos. You're trying to draft where you're going to maximize your points. And then whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. The game is that simple. But it is so satisfying to build these combos and to get every one of your cards scored, because you'll go, and at least the way that it is on BGA, it'll count down. It'll say this card scored you 8 points. This card scored you 10 points. This card scored you 0 points. This card scored you 25 points. That's awesome. And then it'll add up everything, and whoever has the most points wins. I love it. I think it's done really well. It's super simple, but it's a quick, satisfying experience when you can get those combos to work.
It almost, in that aspect, almost reminds me of Captain Flip. It plays really quick.
Yes.
There's satisfying little combos that
Yes.
you get, and it's just a fun experience. I enjoyed it. I've only played it once on BGA, but I really enjoyed it. Are you going to buy a physical copy of this game, or are you happy to?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm happy with it on BGA. I think my family would really like it. So I'll probably end up getting a physical copy. It kind of gives me vibes of a little bit of Jump Drive. Mm-hmm. Jump Drive's a little bit more involved, right? But the combos and the escalation in Jump Drive, and it's a really quick game. It gives me those vibes, which, I've been really enjoying that game. So this game is great too.
I have only played it once, and I played an async game, and I think you said that this plays best in the real-time experience on BGA, right? And it's really quick, as I understood it, like
10 minutes.
10 minutes, and you can get that one done. So I need to give this one a shot on the real-time experience with it, because I just didn't like I was lining things up, but I wasn't. Because I was taking so much time in between turns, I don't know that I was maximizing what I was doing.
Yeah, it's. I think it works better real time. Yeah, I've had 2 or 3 games going async of this, and I'm like, wait a minute, which game was I trying to do? Okay, and then you got to look at your board again. But I think it's a great 2-player game because it's so fast. And most of my games on BGA that have been real time have been 2-player games because it's just back and forth, super quick. And you're like, don't draft that card. I need that card. And you can look at the other player to see. There's maybe a little bit of hate drafting here, but it's like, well, do I take that card because it's the classic? Do I take it because it hurts them more than it hurts me type of thing?
It reminds me, and only because they're both on BGA, and I've only done it on BGA in real time. Nar has like similar like I love that game because it plays so quickly and you are drafting certain cards and you need certain ones to be able to do different things. But I played similar to you, like about 25 games within a short period of time of that one. And I love finding quick games like that on BGA that you can play like a 10-minute game in no time. There's no setup and there's no teardown. There's like, it goes real quick and
and done.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to try this one. And maybe we should do that one on BGA as well. It's a real-time game at some point, you and I.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So that is Castle Combo from Pandasaurus.
I've got another one I want to talk about. It's this game is also from Cosmos, and this is a review copy. I don't have as many plays of this as I do of Dodo. It is Nunatak, Temple of Ice, and this came out in 2023, designed by Kane Clanko, and the artist is Kwanchai Moria. We've heard that name before quite a bit.
Twice,
somewhere. Yeah.
So in this game, you are basically taking turns. You're drafting a building card, which determines where you can place your block of ice. Your blocks of ice are very cool. Check these things out. Look at a picture online, right? If you're listening when you get a chance. But
it reminds me of Break the Ice.
A little bit, right? Yes, but bigger and cooler.
Yes, much cooler.
And not a kid's game.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty lightweight, but you draft a card, and it's a different type of building card. There's builders, there's beasts of burden, there's sculptures, there's artisans, and depending on what type of card you draft, that determines where on the existing board you can place one of your blocks of ice. Okay, once you get 4 blocks of ice in a square, then you're going to put the next level tile on top of those blocks of ice. So you're building this pyramid up you're building a temple up in the shape of a pyramid, and it's really cool. It's really satisfying. There's different ways of how the blocks score when you add new tiles and when you add to the temple. Games like Acropolis, the different types of cards that you draft over the course of the game, they score in different ways at the end of the game. So you're building this temple over the course of the game by drafting a card. You add that to your tableau space, and then you're adding that block to one of those matching colors on one of the tiles, and then it's building this temple up. And it's really satisfying to build up this pyramid or this temple and just see it kind of how it gets built up, and it's just fun to build it as you play. It's a lighter weight game, 1.89 out of 5 on BGG for complexity. Plays fairly quick, 30, 45 minutes. I've only played it at 2-player. I'd like to try it at 4-player. I had a really good time playing this, and I would like to get back to it more. It's just a lightweight, fun, score your cards in different ways type game, and is an enjoyable experience. So,
and it looks like it creates such a fun end product.
It does.
As a result,
good table presence.
Yeah, it's just satisfying to build it up, and the pieces and the tiles fit really well together. So there's no issues of like trying to force a piece in or whatever. It just builds well together, and it's really easy to create this temple or pyramid. Temple Temple of Ice.
I remember you posted a picture of this on Discord of your experience with it, and I looked at it, and one of the thoughts I had is like that it took me to thinking of like Santorini, right? Which is like the 3D pieces that are chunky, and it's building this like experience that's like creates a table presence, like you said, Kevin, that is just really exciting. So it. By looks alone, I'm interested in playing it. But then you add, like you mentioned, the Acropolis kind of multi-scoring, like card, like drafting that you're trying to get in there. That sounds really interesting to me. I'd love to play this one.
Yeah. So that is Nunatak, Temple of Ice.
So
you got another one?
I do.
All right.
I have another game, and this is another game that I got played with my son, my 7-year-old, who ended up being very good at it. And then my 5-year-old was watching this, and he ended up being better than his older brother at it. And I've set up games for them that they ended up playing against each other. So this is a 2-player game designed by Shinpei Sato and published by Arcane Wonders. It is Onitama. This game has been out since 2014, and what this game is it is a 2-player perfect information abstract game. So think of chess, right? Like where all information is available, and this is about how do I use what's in front of me and situational strategic kind of planning and tactical movement to get the outcome I want. Each player is given one master pawn and 4 student pawns, and it's played on this 5x5 grid. The master pawn is set in the center of the grid on the line that is closest to you. So think of like chess or checkers, right? And then the pawns are set to the sides of the master pawn. And what you're trying to do is move either, there are 2 ways to win this game, either get your master pawn onto the pedestal of the other opponent's master pawn, or you have to defeat the other player's master pawn. So knock it out of the game. So it's like checkmate, right? And the interesting thing about this game is every game, there are 5 different cards that are drafted from a large pile of, let me see how many there are, just one second. Why doesn't it say that in this? You shuffle a deck of 16 move cards, and you draw 5 of those cards. Each player starts with 2 of those cards in front of them, and then 1 card goes in between. And the last card that you draw on the bottom right, it has a color on it which determines who goes first. So you're either the red player or the blue player. So if you get the red in the bottom right corner, then the red player is going to take the first move. On these cards, they have different patterns that are set up. So for example, one is called the dragon, and it's got like a pattern that kind of looks sort of like a dragon with its wings open. And what it is it's showing that the game is based off of martial arts. So you're moving in a dragon pattern, essentially. And you can move into one of the 4 spots that are depicted on the grid of the card that corresponds to where your pawn is that you're moving on the board. So essentially, you have multiple options where you can move, and then you choose one of the cards in front of you and choose to enact that movement pattern. So for example, the Ox card allows you to move 1 space in front of you, or 1 space to the right, or 1 space behind you. So when I do that, I take the Ox card and I move it to my left. And that is the card that now becomes the card for the player to acquire after they've taken their next turn. So you're seeing exactly what cards are available, exactly what moves you can take, but the moves you can take switch as you're playing each card. And then you take the card that is on the right and put it in front of you, and now you have the cards to move. So there's this kind of planning that you're trying to do where you're trying to move your student or master pawn into strategic positions where they cannot be attacked and wiped from the board, so that you can ultimately get to the other player's master pawn or get your master pawn on their pedestal. And so it's this back and forth that goes on, and you're just waiting for the opportune moment to do it. And it's this future planning game because you can see the cards that are in front of the other players, and I really like the experience that it creates because you can see, oh, if I hold on to this card and I move into this specific spot, there is no possible way that they can kill me because this card is the only card in this version of the game we're playing that allows you to move directly forward, and they only have one pawn that can move directly forward, and I can stand right in front of it and it doesn't hurt me. And then it allows me, once I get the next card, I can move into the position I want and get this really cool move.
So you're just crushing your kids' dreams.
Yeah, they haven't won. Which is why I switched over to, I taught them the game, and now they're playing against each other,
awesome.
And I watch, and I think it's really fun. And they get the game, they understand it completely, and they can play against each other just well. And I really have enjoyed that.
What is this called again?
It's called Onitama.
Onitama.
We've played this on BGA.
You and I have played
the whole
this on
time you were
BGA.
describing this. I was like, "Is this the game that we played like 2 years ago
Yeah,
on
this
BGA?"
is a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had fun with this.
Yeah.
A little tactical game that. Yeah, I think I won.
I think you did too.
I crushed your soul.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I'm basically my kids to you in this game. So.
No, I remember playing this, and the whole time I was like, this is either on BGA, whatever game he's talking about, because I don't remember what he said it was, or we played a game just like it.
No, it's definitely on BGA, and I really like it on BGA. I definitely prefer it on the table. It's a really nice production value as well. It's got a neoprene mat, and it's got these fun, chunky figures, and the cards are really big, and I like the production of it. And it's simple, easy setup, really quick and fun game to play. I think this is a fantastic game. Introductory kind of chess experience for like my kids that I think is really good.
Yeah,
have you played this?
I have not played it. I mean, as you're describing it, it's a different game, but Hive. Is another game that's like chess-like, very tactical. It kind of gave me vibes of that one.
No, I can totally see that connection because there is a lot of similarity between the specific Hive. Bugs that can do different things.
Spider moves 3 around the hive.
Yeah, and this is similar in that, but the cards are what do it here.
Right.
And the fun thing is that everybody gets those cards. Similar Hive, everybody has access to the different types of bugs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no, similar vibe. So that is Onitama.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know exactly the game, don't you, Dad?
Yeah. Is there anything you guys are excited about, or do we have more games to talk about?
We've got one more game.
One more game.
One more game to talk about. Ninth Haven Games was nice enough to send us a copy.
Extremely nice.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go lay down for a minute.
Which is it was super nice of them to send us a copy of this. This is Deep Shelf. This had just fulfilled. The backers, Kickstarter backers, I think should have gotten their copy recently. We got a copy of it. Tyson and I. Dug through the rules and were able to get a game played. So I'm going to read just a little bit from a description of this game from the publisher, right? So Deep Shelf is a game of deep sea exploration, exploitation, development, and research. Players take on the role of competing corporations seeking to find and develop resource nodes, extract rare earth metals, transport them to the surface, and research the unexplored deepest reaches of the ocean. As the leader of your corporation, you will decide whether to expand quickly and strip mine the ocean of its wealth, or take a more eco-friendly approach and learn as much as possible about the wonders of the deep. Players must be cautious of mining too greedily or delving too deep, as such actions will damage the natural ecosystem of the ocean, hastening the end of the game.
Not only the end of the game, I don't think it does a great job of showing how big of an impact you're having in this world.
Right.
It hastens the end of the world too.
Yeah. You're trying to mine resources from the ocean in order to get those resources and leave Earth, right?
Yes.
I think that's essentially what you're trying to do. Which the theme is very unique.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the theme comes through pretty well.
This is the same publisher that did Dinogenics, which I have yet to play, one that I've always been interested in, but like it seems like they're doing themes that are just really interesting, and Dinogenics was basically Jurassic Park, having like cages of dinosaurs that you're trying to take care of.
I'm trying to contain, or else they're going to come out and like, eat you.
Yeah, which has a little bit of grisliness to it, and kind of a morbid kind of a theme to some extent, and I think this follows suit.
It's the ants to Dinosaur Island's Bug's Life.
Yes, I think that's a fair analogy right there.
Yeah.
Simile? Metaphor?
Comparison? I don't know.
Something.
Words. So some of the mechanics in this game, right? There's end-game bonuses. There's a market. Pick up and deliver is a huge part of this game. So if you enjoy pick up and deliver games, there's a good chance that you'll like this one. Tech trees. That's one of my favorite parts of the game. I know, Tyson, one of your favorite parts of the game. This game does tech trees very, very well. And then one of the things I like best is variable player powers. So the factions in this game are very asymmetric. So when you're playing a faction, you feel different than any other faction that's being played in this game, which I think is pretty cool, and I enjoy games like that.
The other thing that it does that's unique and interesting, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this, but I thought was the action selection component to this game was very interesting.
Yep. Yeah. So on your turn, you have 2 cards that you're going to play. The first card you play, you will take the action. It's a lesser action, but you will get that card back into your hand. The second card you play, you get a more powerful action. But that card, the workers become, I think, overworked, right? Which means they have to take a little bit of a breather. You're not going to get that card back your next turn. You will get it back the turn following that, which makes for some interesting decisions. You know, do I want the big action now, or should I hold off and maybe do it later? So I love games like that where you have to make those decisions.
It made for some very crunchy decisions, right? Like that do I do the thing right now, like you said, and it benefits me, or is there a way to hold on to this and then use that same action multiple times in a way that is beneficial? We made the comparison at one point that it reminded us a little bit of like Scythe, where you can only choose one action at most things unless you're Roos Viet, right? And you can't do that until the next time. So you have to plan around that and be careful and cautious about what you're doing, which I thought was a really fun experience. Now, I also want to touch back on one of the mechanics that you pointed out earlier, Kevin. You said this is a pick up and deliver game, which is 100% truthful. I will say that historically, I have not been a fan of pick up and deliver games.
I agree with that.
I usually hear the term pick up and deliver in a heavier board game, and I'm kind of turned off on that. And to be honest, I was a little turned off at Deep Shelf when I realized it was pick up and deliver. But this game does pick up and deliver in the right way. I'd only really like big box pick up and deliver games I played were like Firefly and what's
that pirate one? That's
Dead Reckoning.
Dead
Reckoning is pick up and deliver.
Pick up and deliver.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
Yep.
But there's another one where you go around. It's a Days of Wonder, I think, one where you go around and circle around the island.
Pirates Cove?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I hate that game.
I've not picked Pirates Cove.
Well, yeah.
The other one I was thinking of
Apparently
was
all Pirates games are
Wasteland Express delivery service.
Oh, okay. You don't like that one, though.
And I hated that experience. Like, I did not like it. But like Firefly and Wasteland Delivery Express were like their primary use of pick up and deliver, where there are universal contracts that are available. You grab a contract and then, or like they're available to everybody, go and try and get the resources and then get back to the place that is requesting it. However, somebody else could be going for that same contract and it disappears. Deep Shelf, I think, does it a lot better in that you're not like competing for like shared contracts. You're picking stuff up and delivering it so that you can construct more and build within your own space better. And it's a component, a large component of what you're doing, but it is feeding into the rest of the engines of the game in a way that I thought was a lot more rewarding and a lot more entertaining than other pick up and delivery experiences that I'd have.
Clank is pick up and delivery.
That's long-term delivery. It's,
boy.
You're picking everything up.
Well, yes. Picking up an artifact. I love pick up and
Sorry,
deliver.
not to derail the deep shelf conversation.
No. I will say the rule book is a little bit of a bear to get through.
I think
Is
that's
that a nice way
generous.
of saying it's a nightmare?
It was hard. Yeah, it was hard to get through. I don't think it's set up very well.
Well, you had a copy of the game, right? I did not.
Yeah.
You read the rule book, and you didn't communicate with me at that point in time. It was only a 2-player game that we played.
Yep.
You and I. And I thought, hey, it's a 2-player game. I should probably go ahead and save us some time, read the rule book ahead of time.
You did save us some time.
I think you're right. But like, I ended up reading the rules and thinking, I'm going to save us some time. But by the time I had finished that rule book, I was like, I'm not sure I fully understand how to play this game.
I had no clue how to play the game after reading it one time.
And I texted you, and I was like, is it just me, or do we not like do you know how to play this game? And I didn't feel like either of us really did.
No, it's not set up very well, which is unfortunate, right? Because it kind of taints your experience a little bit. And I know it tainted our experience a little bit the first time we played. I think if you can get through the rule book, though, there's a good game there.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think at the end of the day, we enjoyed our first play, and I look forward to playing again. There are different modes that you can play. There's a cooperative mode that you can play, and I think I may be most interested in exploring that cooperative mode to see how that goes. And you said kind of the similar thing, right?
Yeah. Well,
Not even being a cooperative player.
No.
It looked interesting to you.
it does look interesting because it's got some, if I'm not mistaken, there's a campaign kind of a element to it, or like some sort of narrative that's going on with it, which was really interesting. And to me, the weakest part of this game for me was the depth dragon. There is a depth dragon that is like a serpentine figure, miniature figure that goes in the game, and it moves around, and you
kind
can
of turn it, and depending on the way that you turn it, the person that's facing the red area on the depth dragon gets a negative
penalty, right?
Or if the green area is faced towards you, then it's a positive.
Right, you get a boon for having that. And to me, like, it was a really like when you look at this board setup and everything in the game, like pictures on BGG, you see that depth dragon, and it looks like, oh, that's going to be a central part of this game.
It's going to be more impactful, right?
And it really wasn't. It was the weakest part.
It felt kind of tacked on.
And agreed, it felt tacked on, and it felt mean in a way that the game didn't feel mean otherwise. It felt like the game feels like two corporations, like multiple competitive corporations trying to get ahead, but not necessarily trying to directly sabotage one another, maybe try and take spaces that are desirable to both people, or like it's desirable and I'm trying to take a spot that you might want just so that like it slows down your engine a little bit. But
yeah, right. It's an exploration game, right? Because you want to get to these spots first so you can have first choice of those tiles, right? And then you can get tiles that match what your strategy is. And I like that part of the game too, but it doesn't. Yeah, I agree with you on the depth dragon.
But then the depth dragon comes in and it can occupy a spot and just kind of camp there essentially, and like you can't do what you wanted, and it doesn't really. And
there's certain movement requirements for it,
and the benefit is not all that great, and the punishment's not all that terrible. Like you can get by with or without them. So to me, the cooperative side of it was more of like. The depth dragon may take a greater role in the cooperative campaign side of it, and even if it doesn't, we are collaboratively trying to not betray or hurt one another with the depth dragon in a way that just felt unnecessarily mean or just didn't fit to me.
Yeah. One other thing to note, it is a little bit of a longer game.
Yes.
So it was, I don't remember how long it took us to play.
I think it was about 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours for a 2-player game. So it's a little bit longer. So if you don't like longer games, maybe you wouldn't like this. But if you like a game that you can really sink your teeth into, I think this may be a good one to check out.
Has a lot of potential.
But you guys spent a lot of time in the rule book that first play, so you could cut it down.
like any game
with multiple plays.
The more
quite a
games,
bit.
the more games you play, the quicker it'll get.
And once you have the understanding of the game, I do think it's easier to come back to. Like, it's not an overly like complex game like Voidfall, where you're going to have to go and reread and re-reference the rule book a ton. And so, like, if one player knows how to play it, you can teach it. The rule book issues do not impact the teachability of the game.
No.
So,
I think if we went back to it and played it again, I think it would come back really quick.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be concerned about inviting new players into that kind of experience. And I would love to play it again, like Kevin said, especially with the cooperative. Like, there's more to explore in this game.
So that's Deep Shelf. Does that wrap it up for games we've been playing?
I have more games, but I'm going to hang on to them.
Gonna hang on to them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we've said our piece. Is there anything you guys are excited about? Tyson's nodding.
Yeah, I as well.
Okay.
I got something.
Oh, I definitely. Yesterday, I had
Oh, yep, I know
a
this.
game arrive on my doorstep that I had been waiting for 2 years. The game is Unconscious Mind.
Yeah, nice.
It's a game that is probably one of my more anticipated games by Fantasia Games, and it's a game about being a psychotherapist and trying to cure clients' ailments and maladies. And like, I spent yesterday evening for like 2 hours sorting all the components and putting all this together. I haven't read the rule book yet. I want to read the rule book next. I would have done that tonight if we hadn't been recording. But like, I looked through this, and it is a phenomenal production quality in this game.
Nice.
And it uses transparent cards.
Love it.
I love like Dead Reckoning style cards, right? And it has a little box component, like the Dead Reckoning boxes that hide those so that you're drawing them and stuff. And they're called grief cards. And one of the interesting things is that each of these clients that are coming in for psychotherapy are going to have some form of ailment or whatever. So you're going to draw a client card and have that, and then you're also going to draw their grief card, which is these transparent cards, and you put it on top of them, and it creates this kind of aura around them that like has different things like that makes it look like they're sad or depressed, or like different things like that just put an interesting spin to the game, and you're working to kind of cure that on them and stuff, and it has a lot of interesting things.
That's a cool theme, right? I mean, I love games that do something different.
Yes.
And, this is a different theme that I've never played a game like this.
No,
so,
and it's worker placement, and it's interesting because the worker placement board has multiple different worker placement spots, and you're using these idea tokens for your workers, which have they're like little word bubbles, like speech bubbles, and you put one, and the little point on the speech bubble is pointing to the action that you want to do. So multiple people can go to the same spot, but you can't necessarily point it all at the same area.
That's cool.
And so there's different ways to get action access, and it sounds really interesting. And there's a ton of content. Like, there's the Nightmares expansion, which also has translucent cards, and I just thumbed through some of those, and they have like a giant cockroach that reminds me of Kafka's Metamorphosis, and like it has like all these like creepy things, and some of the art in this game is extremely beautiful. It's Andrew Bosley art and Vincent Dutrait, and they gave me 4 different sheets of like artwork in here that I want to frame and put up in my game room area because
cool.
It's gorgeous, all of it, and I love that.
that's cool. Okay, get the rules read already.
Yeah,
all right?
yeah.
Come on.
This might be a Cabin Con game.
Hey, yeah, sure.
If I could get it learned and understood.
It's a meatier game, right?
It is.
It's kind of on the higher end of complexity, right?
For sure. Yeah, I'm excited to explore this one for sure. So
Was the expansion part of the Kickstarter or the crowdfunding?
yeah,
The Nightmares or
the
something?
Nightmares expansion was part of it. So I went all in on this one. And it has modules. So like it has a full expansion, but then it has like, think of Anachrony or Mind Clash stuff that we've played that you can take little things, 51st State, right? And you can put them all in and use different things.
I love that because
there's so many of those.
Because if you think of like like Darwin's Journey, you've been talking about playing the expansion for that forever, but that's a little bit more meatier of an expansion, right?
Right.
It adds a lot more. Like, it's so much easier to get modules just plugged in and played. I think that's just that's the way to do expansions. I think.
For me, that's my big preference too, because you get to continue playing the game you love and spice it up, even if you haven't played the game in 6 months and you're like, oh, I don't want to do a full rules reteach and then learn the expansion and add that on top of it. Like, I feel like I need another game under my belt before I can play the expansion.
Well, and you can introduce new players and throw in a module, and it's not that big of a deal. Like, we recently played Teotihuacan. First time you had played on the table.
Right.
We threw in 2 modules, which didn't add really a lot to the complexity of the game.
Seasons 1 is hardly anything.
Right. And we added the priests and priestesses, and that adds variable player powers. That, not a big deal, right?
And those 2 things alone, like, we're playing on BGA now with Teotihuacan, and
you want those modules, right?
Like, I like those. But that I love modules for that reason, is that they may not be necessary, but they spice things up in a way that is, why wouldn't I ever play with this without this? The Lairs and whatever expansion to Clank sounds just like that too.
Lost Chambers.
Lost Chambers. Lairs and Lost Chambers.
Lairs and Lost Chambers. There you go.
LLC.
Clever. Acquisitions Incorporated. Clank, right? So I'm really excited to get Unconscious Mind to the table.
I can't tell.
Couldn't you?
mean, no.
Well, let me redo this whole section then.
Be more enthusiastic about it. Why don't you?
Nice.
I have something I'm excited about that's on the other end of the complexity scale. I didn't think I was going to back this game. This is a Kickstarter.
You did it.
But I did it. I backed Railroad Tiles.
I wondered because time was winding down yesterday.
Yeah,
and I was like, do I back this? Nah. Kevin's probably going to back it last minute.
It wasn't last minute. I actually did it like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Because I started looking at it and I'm like, man, this really gives me vibes of Railroad Inc. It's kind of the same type of, you got all these different expansions. The production on it looks amazing.
And Tyler's going to play it on the table because there's no drawing.
Yeah,
there's no drawing,
absolutely.
right?
Tyson.
Yeah. But it's got all these little like cool meeples. You're drafting tiles. You're building routes. I love games where you're actually building something that's unique to you. It just looks great. I'm excited for it. Hopefully it doesn't take forever to fulfill, like 2 years.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not a Tyson Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, stop doing
Or a
those.
Seamon Kickstarter. Did you like that update for...
Did they give another update?
Like a week ago.
A week ago, they gave an update that was horrible.
Yeah, it was basically the same thing.
By the way, it's never coming.
We need to book a container ship.
Yeah.
We haven't even done that yet.
What have you been doing?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the game is in retail for like...
Cthulhu Death May Die Season 3 and 4.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Fear of the Unknown.
Yeah, I mean, first world problems is fine. You're like, we'll get the game when we get the game, but it's still like, if we're, backing to make this game a reality, why don't you take better care of their backers? That's just the feeling that I get, I just want to play this game.
On the bright side, I think Unconscious Mind and Cthulhu Death May Die ended within a month of each other, and I think Unconscious Mind was
released in retail first, too.
No.
Backers got it first?
Backers did get that one first.
Wow.
But I'm saying that maybe it's only a month buffer zone here that we have left, and it will show.
I would be
at least like
surprised.
4 or 5 weeks for the boats to get across the world.
I would be surprised if we got
Let
it
me
this
be
year.
delusional.
Yeah.
If we get it this year, I'll be surprised.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like March at this point. You haven't even booked a container. What have you been doing for a year and a half?
Doing your other Kickstarters. That's what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Getting the retail version.
Getting the retail version.
Yeah. Flying
around.
making sure that gets to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garbage. Anyway.
I'm not excited about that, but yeah, I'm excited to get it, but not the fulfillment.
What do you got? I'm never going to back a Simon game again. And
Until it looks awesome.
Until it looks awesome. Then I realized like I've backed a couple, I've done some of their pre-orders, and I'm like, I've already got like 2 or 3 other ones that I'm waiting on too, but whatever.
Just quit making games that look so awesome.
Yeah. So one of the game announcements that came out of Essen, and this is still a long way from being published, but the one that I was kind of most excited about, Transgalactica by Daniele Ticini. The artist is Edu Valls, and he's done a lot of stuff like Batoku, and what was that circus game?
Grand Car. No, not the Grand Car. What's
Three Ring Circus.
Three Ring Circus.
He did Trolls and Princesses, which I never played, but the art looked beautiful and amazing. So anyway, they have a game coming out next year at Essen, I think. This is Devere Games, which has been...
They put out some awesome stuff.
Right. So this is travel beyond the known space and compete in different fields to surpass your rivals is the theme line. What I'm excited about, Transgalactica, aside from it being, in theory, another T game from Ticini, but is a worker placement and engine building game with a high level of interaction between the players. Sign me up. I'm really excited for this. There's no complexity yet. There's not a lot of information available. 40 to 100 minutes, so maybe more in that 2-hour range eventually when you get it to the table. And there's only a couple pictures, but I am excited for this.
Worker placement, engine building. That sounds awesome. I mean, I don't even know anything about it.
With a high level of interaction between the players.
You posted this in our Discord, and I looked at it, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm in with this as well. It did the artwork of the ships on the box. When I looked at that, at first I was like, wait, is this Revenant? Like, it looked a little bit like Mind Clash's new game announcement as well. Oh, yeah,
that's another one that I'm excited about.
But it's not red.
Yeah.
No,
but yes, okay. I can.
But like the ship designs and all of that kind of like it gave me that vibe.
Yeah, so I don't even know if this was available in their booth. It was in a display case at Essen. So I'm excited to find out more information about this. Another one that you just mentioned, Revenant from Mind Clash.
Gosh, that's an insta-back.
In the world of Voidfall.
Yeah, which is such a cool world.
Yeah.
Did you see the picture I posted? It looks like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a Mind Clash game.
Well, you said, what did you say? You're like...
It's like
this doesn't look too difficult.
Yeah.
And then I did a little laughing emoji. It's like, this is
total sarcasm. Yeah. It looks really cool though. And excited to hear that they're expanding the world of Voidfall.
Yeah, that is cool. I like that. Yeah.
In addition to a Voidfall expansion that's also coming soon.
I don't know if does it need an expansion? I don't know.
I mean, probably if you can play all the content. Like,
yeah, but I mean, I could
explore.
It is worth it for sure because it's such a good game. But man, you can explore the content that is out there now for a long time, and not get tired of it, right?
I know, but we said that as well about Anachrony, right? Like,
yes, this is true.
And we've still not gotten through all the content for Anachrony.
Most of it we have, but
we're close. We're almost there. But like, I love that about a game that you love so much, that there's so much to explore. Even Revenant being in the same like universe kind of setting.
Yeah.
Like having something that I know that I like and I love, and you keep releasing content. I mean, you are the king of this, Mr. I'll back every Dominion expansion ever exists.
Well, yeah, but I've played Dominion close to 300 times.
But that is but like, if it's something you love, absolutely, I'm all for it.
I'm never gonna say that. Don't come out with expansions for games that I like.
And
I looked at Revenant and I saw the Voidborn orange piece. I'm like, whoa, that's really cool. I want to know what this game does, Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, there's some good stuff coming out.
I've been getting some Halloween games played. Final Girl.
It's funny. I have it set up. I have never played it. I have Camp Happy Trails set up with Hans the Butcher. And I forget what Final Girl I selected, but I'm just getting through the rules and making sure I understand everything. But I'm going to get that played.
My wife played a season 2 while I was playing Mrs. Claus versus the Poltergeist, which was awesome.
Yeah.
She had the Intruders.
That's right.
Right? Like,
yeah. I'm excited to play.
Which looked like a great kind of like setup.
We have that one. My wife says you cannot play that before I do.
We're recording on a different table tonight because we still have our next game set up that we're about to start playing.
Nice.
I need to get it out as well, Final Girl.
I didn't bring this up in the played lately section, but I have been playing Undaunted 2200 Callisto.
Nice.
thought maybe I would give you a chance to get some plays of it.
Yes,
Kevin and Tyson, if you're finally going to play Undaunted.
You say that as if it's my fault that I haven't played it.
Mark and I were texting. We're trying to. He's been super busy lately.
He's been traveling.
He's been traveling.
He's been in Vegas this week,
and he's had some, I think, family or somebody visiting.
You know who's not out of town and who would play this game?
You got to start with
this guy.
I know.
You got to start with Vanilla Undaunted, Tyson.
Yeah, maybe
you're missing out with starting in Normandy. Yeah, I would play. We brought Undaunted to last Cabin Con.
We did, and guess who played it?
Oh, Tyler and Kevin.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
where
right.
was Tyson? Oh, he was too busy to
Teaching
play
a
Undaunted.
5-player game.
Hey, you
what
could
were
have
you teaching?
suggested.
Beast. Oh yeah, that's right.
okay. Wow.
That looked like a long and miserable play.
It wasn't miserable, but it was a
okay.
long play. I actually liked it.
We got 2 rounds of.
We got 2 or 3. Didn't
North
we?
Africa.
North Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Anyway, 2200 Callisto.
Good.
Callisto. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about it, but I will hold off until next time. Plus, we already had like 10 games that we talked about.
Yeah. Tune in to a future episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Find out what we think about that one.
While I plug my ears.
Spoiler alert, it's probably going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Fair chance. Yeah.
Well, cool.
It's been fun.
Good stuff. This has been awesome.
A lot of good games, a lot of fun things excited about. Yeah.
Isn't it fun talking about games?
Yeah, it sure is.
I love it. I love it.
Now let's play something. Let's play Jokkmokk.
Jokkmokk.
Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap this up, guys.
Yeah. Later.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more Longest Turn in your life, please check us out on Instagram. Also, be sure to check us out on Board Game Geek, where you can join our guild, Guild 3947, and check out our blog, where we post all our show notes and occasionally post more detailed reviews. If that's not enough for you, we have a Discord server. If you want to play a game with us on Board Game Arena, join our Board Game Arena group, The Longest Turn. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Tot ziens.
Goodbye.
See you later.